Hello, boys and girls and children of all ages. Fat Bastard Wannabe Buddha coming at you today. Um, Today's topic's basically I was going to give my summation of Trump and what I think about Trump. And this before the California primary. Hope Bernie does okay there, but that race is pretty well over. Hopefully, when I probably shave this little beardy off, I'll give a Bernie update about what I thought of the Bernie candidacy as a whole. Um, so my opinions on Trump. First and foremost, Trump is not an aberration. That is the logical conclusion of the Republican Party since '64. And he's not no better or no worse than any of the candidates that the party has nominated since '64. His absolutely hatred and trolling of the media the other day in that press conference is people forget how venomous there was a the '64 convention was, and when they gave that little speech, Goldwater a passing flippant remark about how the New York establishment media and the liberal media, or however you want to phrase this, the media, flippant passive remark, that convention exploded. Those people hate they hate a large segment of the society. um and it was The Democrats created Trump as much as the Republicans did. In my opinion, the Democratic Party is responsible for Trump. And the reason the Democratic Party is responsible for Trump is it did not address the George Wallace Democrats. It just fundamentally did not address these individuals who were poor white trash in the South, who were being played by property owners, which they've always been played since the Civil War. That's how they got the poor folks to fight for property. They've been playing these people for a long period of times, but the Democrats did not have an economic message to deliver to, textile mill towns and rural farming villages and small communities. So the rich landowners and the rich mill owners could basically play that race trash for a long period of time. And they ate it up because there was no counter narrative. There was no narrative, and there was no people out there saying, no, those people over there in the same mill that you're working in the same fields that you're working in, are not your problem. It's the guy up there on the hill that's your problem. But the Democrats did not want to deliver that message because they were in bed with those guys up on the hill. And the more they climbed into bed with those people up on the hill, the further and further and further they drifted away from the New Deal coalition, the LBJ's Great Society, having the government actually do something. In my opinion, Bernie Sanders is not me. He's not an anarchist. He's not a socialist. He's not a communist. He's a regular old Hubert Humphrey, George McGovern Fordism. Basically, they believe that the capitalism can do a lot of wondrous great things, and there's nothing inherently immoral and evil and vile, which I personally believe about this institution. But no, they can just take off the rough edges, and that the state does some things very well, like educate, police, military, fire, and healthcare. They would probably add that to it. And there's things that the private sector should be basically doing too. And there's also, they recognize that the private sector needs a good watchdog. Otherwise, capital will slit its own throat, which it is doing currently. But that's what Bernie Sanders was. And the reason people like Trump was allowed to rise into power is because that portion, that Herbert Humphrey, George McGovern, LBJ, even Kennedy to a degree, Democratic Party was cut off at the knees. Now, the party was never going to be Henry Wallace. It was never going to be Eleanor Roosevelt's party. It's not going to be the party for people like me, hardcore radicals that are openly opposed to the current economic paradigm. It's not going to be that party for us. But by removing any populist or economic message for the poor white trash, it allowed those people to go further and further into identity politics, into this la-la land of self-pitying, poor is me. And the Republicans have been stoking those fires and feeding those fears for 40 to 50 years, and that's what we have here. We have Donald Trump, who is Ronald Reagan. Oh, y'all gonna get really upset. People don't want to hear that, but Donald Trump's Ronald Reagan. They're probably with less baggage than Reagan had. The great thing, about Trump is he doesn't believe in anything other than whatever the crowd wants him to believe in at the time. But by and large, he's going to be a courtier of wealth and power, which is how he maintained his wealth and power and achieved a position of wealth and power to begin with. So I don't fear Trump. I see Trump. The country elected a little Texas governor that knew absolutely nothing, who was an empty suit. It elected a California governor that was an empty suit that absolutely knew nothing either. These is what that party wants to produce. They want hollow men who carry water for corporations and for very powerful people. And Donald Trump will play that very well. And he will feed the fears and the paranoia and the trepidation of a changing demographic and economic structure very well to achieve his power. But that's what they want. In my opinion, the dominant economic elite have two plans, and I'm still in the straight out from Zizek that he gave several years ago during the Great Recession, or beginning of the Great Depression that we're still undergoing, in which the capital will basically come to the world with two choices. First choice will be a managerial technocratic class of individuals who basically be quote-unquote socially liberal, socially progressive. They will allow for greater freedom individually on who you can marry, who you can, how you can identify yourself, more religious, more sexual, and gender equality. But by and large, there'll be corporate managerial technocrats like your David Camerons and your Tony Blairs and Bill Clintons and Barack Obamas and Merkel's. Those are the individuals that capital truly desires to run the state. They have the mechanism of power. Secondary choices that they will give the populace. They know that the populace is very upset because inequality is destroying large segments of the society. So they know they have to address this. And one option they could address this with is, the quasi-Fordist left, the Bernie Sanders types, whatchamacallit in London currently. But they are openly objecting these people. They don't want that system because capitalism at its stage that it's currently at right now doesn't want to do anything other than speculation. It is the financialization of the entire economy. So it has no desire to sit down to a Fordist ideology of actually manufacturing, creating job wealth. It is in pure speculation financial mode currently. So it doesn't have any use for Bernie Sanders. That option is completely off the table now. So you're just going to have a technocratic managerial state that they may even give you something like a big idea, basic income guarantee, because they know they're going to have to control the populace somehow. And there's only so much you can control with just smartphones and, little toys that they give us to play with. So they will prefer someone like a Hillary Clinton or a Barack Obama. But they will offer that economic populism has to go somewhere. So, but they want it tarnished, in my opinion, with tribalism, chauvinism, bigotry. Just, the Berlusconis, Le Pens, and Donald Trumps. Those are the options that you're going to be presented. And they hope that by and large you're going to take, the Hillary Clinton or David Cameron or Merkel choice. They hope you will take that choice. And most of you will take that choice. And I suspect that, Trump goes down in a resounding defeat. And people will choose Hillary. And you will have 4 to 8 more years of what we currently have. I personally don't believe as a species we can survive another 8 years of what we currently have. I think financially and ecologically we're on a clock that is continuing to tick, and we will hit a wall. I don't know what the wall will be, whether it will be another financial collapse, which you're running on an 8 to 15 year cycle. So that would put the next cycle, in my opinion, 16, 22, 2020, 2022, somewhere around there. Or we basically get the 2 degrees that are baked into the cake as far as climate change starts having drastic impacts, and that would be around 2030, 2025, when you start seeing major weather disruptions and relocation of population and migratory patterns that just shatters this whole thing 7 ways from Sunday. So they will give you the Trump option and hope you don't take it. But if you take it, they can deal with these guys. These guys are a dime a dozen. Donald Trump would not be a worse president for the average American than George Bush was Jr. It won't be a worse president for Latin America than Ronald Reagan was. As much as he hates Mexicans and Latinos and everything else, Ronald Reagan put more Latinos in the ground than Donald Trump can even dare to dream of. He turned Central America into a charnel pit, and we forgot all about it. So, no, I don't fear Donald Trump. I don't think he will get power, and if he does, he'll be very well controlled by the deep state. But what they also are hoping for, that especially the Republicans, they need this Pepsi-Coke dynamic in the society, in a capitalist society, in order to achieve a sense of an illusion of freedom and choice and everything else. That you got your Pepsi, and you got your Coke, and you got your McDonald's, and you got your Burger King, you got your Democrats, and you got your Republicans. So once you hate one of them, they can discard that one, put the other one in power, and you forget all about what happened with the other one, and then you go through, just shuffle through this. So what they hope happens with Trump is he goes down in such flames, and that the left, that's not the left, I mean liberals and progressives, blame him for everything, make him a second incarnate coming of Hitler or Mussolini or Franco or whatever the villain choice is. And that way he can be a scapegoat. You can pile all the burdens of all the prejudice, all the bigotry, all the hate that the society needs in order to maintain itself. Remember that. Let me repeat that. All this hatred and stuff is there for a reason. It's a safety valve for capital. But every once in a while it gets to a pressure point and they need a scapegoat, and Trump will fulfill that role, and they'll toss Trump over the thing and say, and I'll come back to it, it wasn't Paul Ryan, it wasn't the Republican Party, we were all warned, we were led astray by this great Svengali, and I'm sorry, it wasn't us, if it wasn't for this master orator that led us, the German nation, astray, we wouldn't have invaded France or Russia or anywhere else. It's a lie. It's a lie. But they'll get most people to believe that. And what I fear and worry about is Hillary Clinton will be in partnership with someone like a Paul Ryan to help legitimize the new, quote unquote, Republican Party, and they'll do some budget plan or something, grand compromise, which I'm very worried about with the Hillary on presidency. But that's a ramble for another thing. My main takeaway from this is Donald Trump is not an aberration. Donald Trump is nothing more than a con man, a used car salesman who learned that how to make a deal, how to sell, and what he's selling. Sadly, a large portion of the American society wants to hear, because there's no counter message to it, and there just isn't. And these people are lost, and we should take great comfort that most of them are going to die. That's all we got. These people will die, but it doesn't mean it's going to get better when these people are gone. It just doesn't. There are some fundamental problems in the society that is not going to be addressed, unfortunately, by dealing with some of the other problems that we have that are, racial, sexual, gender inequality. There are other things that will pretty unfortunately smash us as a species before those things can rip us apart. Unfortunately, that's my rant for the day. Hopefully, I will probably come back and give you my opinion of Bernie Sanders, or what I think of Bernie Sanders. I may get rid of this right here. Unfortunately, I wanted to come one more last time and give you that Rasputin hillbilly hayseed look that you know, that I was hopefully going for. So hopefully my midlife crisis is ended and I can get rid of this stupid thing. Anyway, this is the Fat Bastard Wannabe Buddha. Hope you have a good day. Good day.